Good evening and beyond the new, my fond fair friends, family, and subscribers. This is your humble narrator, Diomedes Rouge, here to bring you another part, and in truth, the actual part 3 of What If Bell Was Trained as a Spartan. To be fair, I do apologize. Apparently I messed up. I forgot I started off at 0 instead of 1, which in turn threw off the counting process when I just looked at the parts on the playlist. This is the reason why I always call myself a humble narrator. I'm more than willing to admit I made a mistake. At the same point in time, I must also add, I am now a dumb narrator. I can't count apparently. Please forgive. Now, where we last left off, Bell was about to accept a quest to his final trial, his, well, biggest challenge yet. And what would that be? Well, simple. He had a choice. Either go after the necromancer that could be at Athens, to go after the Minotaur for pride, honor, and glory, or 3, to try and set up a treaty with the Amazonians. Now, to be fair, from the comments I have read after that choice, I did not get much of a unanimous decision, which shocked me, and slightly hurt me. I'm kidding. I have no feelings left to be hurt. However, it did, how do I say, make things simple, since there was no overwhelming unanimous decision. Now, allow me to show you what I mean by that. Bell proceeds to ask his father, how long would I have on taking care of the necromancer? His father, Leonidas, replies with, considering everything, about a month. It's take you a while to get to Athens, not to mention set up and make sure that there actually is one. From what we hear, it's just hearsay for now, but if nothing else, you can come back with a report saying everything is fine. How long for the one of the Minotaur? The Minotaur, we'd give you about 1 month. As I said, it would take you a while to get there, and a while to get back. And for the Amazonians, again, either one of them would take you about a month. I see. So 3 months it is then. No, son. 1 month. No, father. 3 months. For I shall take all 3. Take all 3. You told me to double down on everything you dish out at me. Well, in this particular case, I shall triple down. You are my son. Very well, Bell. Given that you're going to triple down, as you say, then allow me to at least give you the proper way of going out. Well, yes, you'll stay here for a week to rest and recover. During that period of time, you will also find 2 people to go along with you to assist you in your journey, considering you are going to, well, as you put it, triple down. There should at least be 2 others to accompany you, at bare minimum. Very well, Father. I will also provide you with enough money to cover your traveling expenses and possible food needs. It'll be your job to make sure it's kept safe. Thank you, Father. And last but not least, I'll allow you into my personal armory to gather some weapons and armor of more higher quality. I see. And are you sure about that, Father? It could attract unwanted attention in other places. Possibly. However, I worry for you. There is no need, Father, but I thank you. So, as the time progresses, he already made his choice, and if you guys know me by now, you already know the choices he made. Xander, Landa, the brothers of unrelenting strength and God and protection. Yes. They're a reoccurring theme in this story. As they both go over to him. As he goes over to both of them, my apologies, and basically says, "So, I need your help." "Oh? Why's that?" "Simple. I need you two to accompany me on my last mission." "Oh? It must be a pretty big one. Usually the trials are taken alone." "True, it is very big. In fact, there are 3 of them." "3? They gave you 3. No, I took 3. "Bell, you're an idiot." "Maybe. But all the glory?" "Maybe, but the last stop ends at Amazonians." "I'm in," Lander says immediately. "Lander, Xander, Amazonians." "Lander, Amazonians, Xander. Think about it. Beautiful women that are beautiful women that are on par in strength with not only men, but are weapons experts as well as just... Oh, come on, think about it. You know, Lander, you truly are a beast sometimes." "Thank you, Xander. That was not a compliment, Lander." "Well, at least I convinced one of you. Now, Xander." "Yes? We're also going to be facing off against a necromancer and a minotaur." "I see." And that's when Lander just kind of goes, "I agree to this too early, but can't back out now." "Why a necromancer?" "It's in Athens at the moment, and, well, my father fears, if the rumors are true, that it could eventually spread its pestilence over to, well, Sparta. I see. And the Minotaur, he figured it'd be a good challenge for a young upstart such as myself to possibly come back with the head of the Minotaur, or at least survive its labyrinth. Very well. You have a deal, Bal. Thank you. Oh, crud. Sorry about that. Now, you have a deal. You have a deal, Bal. Why, thank you, Xander. Now, let us be on our way. After we gather a few more supplies, as they head over to, well, Leonidas' personal armory. Leonidas waves them in as they're able to gather a few things as they look around and are impressed by just the sheer quantity of trophies as well as battle plate and shields and spears. Impressive, is it not? Indeed, Father. Indeed, sir. Now, which do y'all choose? One armor, one weapon, and one shield. I'm fine with my shield as it is, Lander retorts. Xander says, I am fine with mine as well. My family heirloom shall not be traded in. Indeed, until mine breaks, it is my duty to keep it strong. As Leonidas walks over and grabs them both by the shoulder. You truly are good men of Sparta. Very well. If you can't pick another weapon, shield, then pick another weapon. Thank you. As Bell walks over, he examines everything. He takes a more, I would say, higher quality set of heavy armor. And what I mean by higher quality? Well, simple. Most Spartan armor was made of brass. Considering this is a fantasy world, they were made of iron, due to the more than likely bare ways of forging and such. What Bell just got was refined steel armor. Oh yes. Oh yes. Yes, these Spartans are at the Steel Age already. Now think about that for a moment. That is terrifying. He takes a standard spear that goes over and pulls out 2 kopashes and straps them both to his back to be able to pull out from the right hand side. Leonidas walks over and says, Why 2 swords? Simple. The sword is an emergency weapon, only to be used in a last-ditch resort. However, what happens if your emergency weapon is out? May need another. Planning for a rainy day, then. Of course, Father. I am your son. Being overly cautious is never a bad trait. Very well. As Xander and Lander each take a, pilum. In case you don't know, think slightly heavier javelin. Yes. They each take a couple of pilums. and they strap them onto their backs. Why do you carry those? Leonidas asks. Simple. Not all of our targets will be kind enough to charge at us. In fact, once they figure out how screwed they are, some of them may decide to run. And a spear, while very good at thrusting and finishing people off, is not always good for throwing. Doesn't travel as far as, say, a nice pilum. Leonidas just gets a mild grin on his face, and he just goes, My son truly did pick well. You three be off. And don't forget the money, as he hands him a sack of gold to carry. Thank you, father. No problem. Now go. As you wish. They head over to the docks, and before he can leave, his mother is, well, outside the main castle, and, well, she's just wanting to tell Belle goodbye. How much she'll miss him, and how much she's sure he'll make her proud. Meanwhile, Belle says, Of course. I have no choice but to make you all proud. After all, I wouldn't want the new little one to think that his brother is a failure, as he touches his mother's stomach. I will be proud to be an older brother and set an example. As she just chuckles and be like, Of course you will. Now go. As Belle picks up his weapon and kit and hops off. Progress a little further and, well, they're on the boat. Xander and Lander are both talking with Belle, saying, Man, hard to believe that we wound up getting our fates intertwined with you yet again, Belle. Indeed. If it wasn't for the sheer fact you pulled us over, we'd be heading to Antioch at this moment. Really? Why there? Apparently the king's brother is having a hard time trying to ease up a rebellion. I see. I sure hope my cousin's alright. You have a cousin? Well, of course I have a cousin. We're Spartans. Fair point, fair point. What's his name? Basil. He may be a bit, well, irritating at times. But he's a good guy. Well, for the most part. You just have to get through his exterior. Sounds like a handful. Then you can definitely tell they're related, Xander remarks. Oh, as if I couldn't tell either of you were related, but you meat-headed buffoons. Oh, yes, we're meat-headed. Not like we've ever warned you about doing something stupid, and you've done it anyways. Fair point, fair point. As the travel goes on for a couple of weeks, and they eventually arrive at Athens. Now, the first thing they do for the couple of days they're there is essentially lay low. They initially set up contact with the person who, well, sent the request over to Leonidas for his intervention. which happened to be a, well, city delegate. They meet up with him and ask him what's going on. He says that there's a high likelihood of a necromancer in the catacombs, and that he's been trying to keep things on the down low to not cause a panic throughout his city. However, any guards he sent down there have come back, well, either disfigured or worse, not at all. Bell and Blander and Xander all go, Alright. Is there anything else? Yes. You won't be the only ones trying to solve this. What? No. I don't put all my eggs in one basket, Spartan. So I made sure to hire multiple groups. I see. And how much will you be paying? Simple. Once it's done, I send the appropriate fees over to your land, over to your capital, for them to be distributed amongst you upon your return. Alright. But you listen to me. If I find out that you try and stab me in the back or not pay, you will have worse things than a necromancer to worry about. For instance, the wrath of a Spartan. Are we understood, Quillneck? And no, that's not his name, that's an insult, because quills. Don't know what that is? Old-fashioned pen. Essentially calling him a pencil neck. But back to the show. The delegate kind of takes a small gulp and then looks at his guards. But till then, relax. No harm will come to you or your fine city. As they proceed to walk out. Can you believe the nerve of that man? Lander remarks. Hiring more people. Xander says, to be fair, it does make sense. In all due likelihood, if this is as dangerous as he thinks, hiring more people just ensures that the job gets done. True, but it also means he's more likely to screw over people if he's not willing to admit that from the start in his letters. We'll keep going. Right. As they proceed. Now, they eventually get to the entrance of the catacombs and doff their, well, I would say the big heavy cloaks and big heavy brown cloaks they were using to keep themselves relatively spotted. They kept their shields on their backs and donned on some brown cloaks to not cause too much of a stir. After all, 3 big burly Spartans in a city and equipped fully for war. It could cause a few incidences. The guards begin to try and stop them as they bring out the proper seal and say, we're allowed to enter. And so, they let them enter. And this is where things begin to get good. For as they enter, they can already hear the shuffling sounds of battle, the clanging of metal between metal, the loud thumping of drum, the loud thumping of shield against shield, like the sounds of drums echoing throughout the catacombs. They look at each other and say, "We must. No one lives forever," as they rush full on straight into battle. Every step they make echoes throughout the halls, every pounding foot, every, chinking mail, chink of their armor reverberates as they move through the catacombs. Meanwhile, at the fight, and yes, you guys probably could predict this, but there are there are 5 Spartans facing off against a group of undead, as they are holding their lines and proceeding to, shield and stab, as Spartans do. The commander of this group, the one with, the frill at the top of his helmet, begins to holler out more commands, such as aim for the head and make sure you leave none alive, as he, strikes a blow to one more, as the other Spartans begin to yell, "We're trying, sir," but there's no end to them, as more and more undead begin to funnel through, as they begin to hear something coming from behind them. They go, "More? Shit. 2 of you, fall back. All the rest of us. 2 of you, fall back. The rest of us will hold the line. Circle round. We won't let these things take us alive." "Yes, sir. Yes, sir. If we die today, we die as Spartans." As suddenly they hear, a very welcomed but confused, a very confusing in their mind, not because of how it's being done, but more along the lines of they did not know it was going to be done. War cry. That's a... Wait a minute. That can't be. As Bell, Lander, and Xander all, they make their presence known. As Bell begins to raise his voice and yells throughout the cavern. Something along the lines of, "Come at me, you infernal undead dogs! We are Spartans, and you will not slay us today!" As Bell, sees the 2 confused Spartans kneeling on the ground, prepared to strike at whatever comes on their back, comes at the back of the group, and he decides to run even faster and, jump off the shield. Lander and Xander are going, shit, here he goes again. As he gets into the air and, brings down his spear onto the head of one of the, the zombie. You already get it. It's a zombie, necromancer. As he uses his shield to crash into a few others as he lands, pulling out one of his kopeshes and begins to hack and slash into the brains and heads of the remaining zombies that are there, disrupting the formation of the undead. As this goes, the commander of this group says, "Charge, you dogs! Leave none alive!" As he begins to thrust his spear over and over, killing another undead and another, as Xander and Lander begin to make it through on the sides of them, smashing and slashing. Xander using his spear more as a club, crushing their skulls as he swings it back and forth. Meanwhile, Lander tossing his spear down altogether to switch to his sword, smashing skulls apart with his shield and sword, and hacking through their heads with his sword. My apologies. Over and over, these wild men of Sparta all come together and, well, ensure victory. As Bell turns around to greet the commander, he says, "Sorry we're late. Had to deal with a quill neck. But are you men all right?" He gets up and says, "Yes, we're fine. We lost one soldier, but other than that, the rest of us are okay." Bell, Xander, and Lander all take a moment and pause and apologize for not getting there sooner and begin to pray for their fallen brother. "No worries. He'll be brought back home on his shield. I can promise you that. What is your name, soldier?" "I am Bell. Bell of Sparta, son of Leonidas." "Bell?" As the commander says, "Yes." "It's me," as he takes off his helmet. "It is Basil." "Basil?" "Basil!" As they grab each other's arms and embrace each other. "You crazy bastard. Why are you here?" "Trials. I thought your father was busy in Antioch." "He is. However, I am required here." Pardon me, had to yawn. "I am required here." "Oh, why is that?" "My father did not like the idea of a necromancer stumbling around in the tombs of Athens. For what most people don't know is that there are a few Spartans that are buried here as well." "What?" "Indeed. Some of them were, well, some of them died in major battles and couldn't be brought home to Sparta or to their native lands. So we made sure that they were buried proper, even if it wasn't on home ground. Then we have all the more reason to fear. Come, let us proceed." "Indeed. Of course, technically this should be a competition," as Basil states, putting his helmet back on. "Oh? Are you sure you want that?" "Sure. Let's go about it like this. The squad that takes the most skulls gets the most of the money. Go. And if we get to kill the necromancer, that's an extra 20% of it from either direction." "I like the way you think, Basil. Game on." As everyone gets back up and begins to move forward. They travel throughout the corridor, slashing, hacking, stabbing, and killing all the undead they can find, leaving a trail of corpses. Well, as it proceeds, they begin to hear the scream of a woman shouting, "No, I won't allow it," coming from the other side of a door. As Bell yells at Xander and Lander to prepare their pilums. And, well, Basil does the same. Each one of them preparing for a bombardment. As Bell just walks up, lifts up his leg, and kicks in the door, breaking the, well, breaking the little door bar that was holding it in place from the other side. As he charges in, rushing full steam at this, well, necromancer in dark black robes and a sacrificial dagger. Says, "You fools, you have interrupted the ritual," as he begins to charge. As he begins to, well, charge and fire a bunch of fireballs and lightning and, magic bullshittery. As a bell acts as a distraction running forward, he does not realize that he is being targeted by the other Spartans and their Pelums as they loose them all. As Bell absorbs the impact from the fire and the lightning, the Pelums hit their mark. All 7 hit dead on, impaling the poor would-be necromancer into the wall with their combined might and strength. As Bell rushes forward, taking out his khopesh and breaking the chains that bind this girl, who looks sickly and emaciated. "Are you all right?" he asks. "Yes. What is the matter? What is your name and why are you here?" "I am Analia. He took me as a sacrifice." "A sacrifice?" "Yes. Apparently I have a high amount of magic. He was going to strip it out of me and use it to summon more undead. Bastard. At least he's dead now. We'll get you back to your home. Come." As they proceed to begin to pick her up and carry her out, as Xander and Lander both move in behind Bell. He goes, "What?" As a shade appears from the man's corpse. And in case you don't know what that is, well, a dark, misty abomination that makes itself appear as a skeletal figure, usually made from the corpse of a damned individual who's unwilling to let his soul pass on and makes a pact with some demonic entity to keep him there just a bit longer to exact revenge on those that killed him. As lightning cracks through the air, as Xander and Lander block it, both of them feeling the recoil of the electricity pouring through their arms as their shields absorb the major impacts. Bell then places the girl on the ground and turns around and adds his shield to the fray, blocking most of the lightning, allowing his group to recover. As, well, Basil's team throws more Pelum to try and kill the thing again. Unfortunately, this time, it just goes through. Damn beast. Basil and his men then rush forward to try and do what they can to save their brethren. And that is when the necromancer, now Shade, takes the opportunity and chunks a fireball dead at them, blasting them to all sides of the arena. Well, not arena, the catacombs. Area, I meant to say. The area of the catacombs. Basil knocked down. 2 of his men engulfed in flames. The other 2 rendered unconscious by the sheer force of the blast. Bell getting more and more furious. Xander and Lander, seeing what's going on now with a bit of breath in their body, get up and charge from either side, attempting to kill the shade. They reach forward and attempt to strike the beast, but as they do, their weapons merely pass through it, not causing any harm. As the shade takes a minor respite and grabs them both by the head and tosses them around like rag dolls, each of them impacting and cratering into the walls of the catacombs. As he refocuses his attention on Bell, who's now charging forward, not allowing him to catch any breath, as he begins to take out his kopiesh and hack and slash through the monster. As he yells, "Run, you fools! I'll hold it off!" Basil, halfway tempted to do that, halfway tempted to charge in and face his maker along with his cousin. Then seeing the poor girl laying on the ground, he makes up his mind. He yells to his cousin, "May we meet again. May we meet again in the brightest circle of Hades." As Bell just smiles. He runs over, grabs the girl, places his shield on his back to absorb any damage that can come forward, and he runs. He runs like the wind, crying, damning himself for allowing his brother, his shield brother, his cousin, to take on such a beast, to die. He hates himself for what he's done, but he knows there's nothing he can physically do against it. All he can do now is try and save someone, and so he does. However, the shade is not done, as he throws Bell into a wall, and all you can hear from it is incoherent cackling as Bell begins to stand yet again. The shade then begins to speak. "You will join my army of undead, and I will make you an instrument of destruction." As Bell then looks at it, and then begins to laugh. As Xander and Lander both see this man who they thought was unbeatable begin to crack and laugh at such a threat. But then they realize he's not cracked. He's perfectly sane, as he retorts with, "You think your puny magics will work on the son of Sparta?" "I'll have you know you're right where I want you. This fight isn't over until every bone in my body is broken, and every drop of my blood is spilled. You still have quite a few left to go, in either direction." As the shade begins to cackle once more, and fires off more lightning towards Bell. Bell then raises his shield high and proceeds to move forward through the lightning. As it bursts onto his shield, he feels the electricity course through it. Because, well, while it is blocking the most damaging effects, it's lightning. It's still going to hurt like hell. He then begins to say a prayer. "Zeus, Hestia, Ares, Hades, Poseidon, anyone, please lend me your strength. I do not wish to die today. I am a son of Sparta, I do not yield. I shan't yield. Grant me the strength to vanquish this foe. As he moves forward again and again. With every with every step he makes, getting closer and closer to the shade. He's feeling his life being drained before him until boom, 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 boom. He feels a surge of vigor coursing through his body. I shan't yield. Boom, boom. As he begins to make more headway, closer and closer, the shade beginning to finally see fear in its undead eyes. Feel fear in its body. How can it feel fear? It is undead. The dead should know no fear. But he does. As he sees the glowing silver eye, the glowing silver energy pouring from this man's eyes. This Spartan, no. This demon of vengeance coming forth to him, laughing maniacally as he has inflicted more and more damage upon him. He switches it up to fire, shooting random blasts of energy fire towards him, blowing up upon impacting his shield. But it does not matter, for the Spartan man still wanders ever closer. Boom, 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 boom. His heart is practically beating out of his chest. I will not yield. As his body begins to emit a faint silver glow all around it, his shield begins to brighten up. As Xander and Lander both gaze in awe at this, the blade of his sword begins to turn a bright red as he says, "You have damned the soul, you damned soul, have corrupted the bodies of hundreds of our fallen brethren, and thousands of the fallen Athenians." Or rather, I should say, dozens of our fallen brethren and hundreds of the fallen Athenians. That's more accurate. I will not allow you to live in my world any longer. As he raises his sword and strikes at the shade, and as he does, the silver energy the red energy impacting upon the shade hurts it. It's actually feeling pain. It's actually recoiling in agony. What is going on? How is this happening? How can a mere mortal harm me? As Belle moves forward, the shade panics. It tries to run, but it's too late. As Belle lets loose a war cry, charging it with its shield, impacting it into a wall as he hacks and slashes over and over again at the shade, each impact causing it to scream in terror and pain, each impact making it more and more devastating to hear, until finally the shade crumples into a fine black powder. As Belle just stands there looking down upon it. As he raises his sword and his shield high above his head and roars. And then collapses. The energy fading from his body, his sword returning to normal. As Xander and Lander both get up and charge towards him, just to hear him being asleep. They pick him up and walk away out the catacombs, just to see, and carry him out the catacombs. Upon getting to the exit, they notice that two of their fallen brothers are not fallen, just rendered unconscious, as Xander and Lander just grab their capes and drag them along. As they reach the entrance, they see Basil sitting outside the catacombs, spear in hand, impaled into the ground, his shield off to his side as he is praying that by some miracle that his cousin is alive. As he hears the catacomb gates open, he quickly scrambles up, grabbing his weapons, just to notice that the two men his brother accompanied with, his cousin, shield brother, actual cousin, accompanied with, are carrying him, as well as his two fallen soldiers. He runs up quickly and helps them carry them, and assists with carrying them. Back to an infirmary. A few hours later, Bell wakes to Xander and Lander sitting in his room, just going, "Oh, what happened?" "You killed a shade." "Indeed, it was quite the show." "I killed a shade? How?" "You don't remember anything, huh?" "No." "All I can say is you truly are blessed by Zeus. Whenever that thing struck at you, you started emitting a glow, and with that glow, you killed it. Don't know if you'll ever be able to pull it off again, but here's hoping," as he downs back a glass of wine. "Now, you're gonna rest here for a couple of days, and then we'll be off again." "To the Minotaur," Landa says. "To the Minotaur," Xander Xander repeats. "To the Minotaur," Bell tries to say, but then winds up being curled in pain. "Why? Have you ever pulled a muscle? Yeah, that's what his entire body feels like right now." As he just kind of lays back down. "Ow, ow, 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 ow." The great and mighty Bell of Sparta, curling in pain. "Shut up, Xander." "Maybe. You rest easy." "Will do." As he kind of collapses back on his bed. "What was that?" Landa remarks. "I have no clue, Xander." "I have no clue, Landa, but we shall make sure that our shield brother remains safe. We will not let him become to harm, and we will do our best to keep this quiet. Why? Think of it. If the priests find out that he is truly blessed, you already know what they're like. They'll use him as an influential pawn. And knowing Bell, how he cares for Sparta, they'll use that against him. They'll use him like a weapon. But aren't we already weapons? No. We are sentinels. We are guardians. We are meant to hold the line that the ever-expanding Greek Empire makes. We are meant to destroy only those that oppose. But They would use Bell like a battering ram, tossing him at every problem. We must protect our friend. We must protect him no matter what. Of course, Xander. No one uses our friends. No one can. For we are the ultimate. For we are the ones that serve the White Wolf. Indeed. And that's where I'm going to end it off here. Hope you guys enjoyed, and stay safe, have fun, and au revoir.